Hello everyone and welcome to a really wild game from yesterday's Sinquefield Cup round 4. It is Wesley versus Jan Nepomniachtchi, and for a very long time, if you guys remember, Nepo had a positive score against Magnus Carlsen in classical time format. Then, okay, some time has passed, now Magnus Carlsen has some 6 wins to Nepo's 4. But in the case of Wesley Wesley has such a huge lead over Nepo in classical that it's I had no idea. I had to check. But Wesley defeated Jan 6 times in classical, and Jan defeated Wesley only 1 time, and 9 of the games ended in a draw. So huge difference, and of course it would be in Nepo's interest to win one of those games. So let's check it out and see what happened here. And what I want you to do in this game is really pay attention to Nepo's clock. This is incredible. Wesley opens with knight to f3. We have pawn to d5 and pawn to e3. Pretty much the Reti. We have knight to f6 and now pawn to c4. Striking against the center, we have pawn to e6, transposing into the Agincourt defense of the English. We have pawn to b3 and bishop to e7. Bishop to b2, we have castles and knight to c3. We have pawn to c5, c captures and e5, e captures and pawn to d4. All been played before, nothing new here. Knight to e4 and d captures on c5. We have bishop to f6, now putting pressure on the c3 knight, and knight to d4, blocking the bishop. We have queen to a5, putting more pressure on c3, and rook to c1, defending. And now knight to c6, putting pressure on the knight on d4, bishop to e2, and now knight captures on c5. We have knight captures on c6, b captures on c6, and castles kingside. We have knight to e4, and there is a game, it was played this year even, in the match, a women's chess match, Georgia versus Azerbaijan. Bela Kotanashvili played against Ulvia Fatalieva, and in that game, knight captures on e4 was played. But here, we have queen to c2, and white was able to win after knight captures on e4. But here we have queen to c2, and it is now, as of move 15, that we have a completely new game. Now, let's see what happens. Knight captures, bishop captures, we have bishop captures, queen captures, and queen captures on a2. So, okay, Nepo grabs the pawn on a2, but Wesley will take the c6 pawn. But you still have to make sure you don't lose the b3 pawn while you're at it. So, rook c2 attacks the queen, queen a3, and rook to a1. Queen goes back to e7, and only now queen captures on c6, and material equality is restored. We have bishop to e6, queen to c5 offering a queen trade, and Nepo trades. We have queen captures, and rook f to c8, just offering a rook trade, rook c to a5, and rook 8 to b8, going after the b3 pawn, bishop to d1 defending, and Nepo goes pawn to d4. So, it's sort of a pawn sacrifice, but really you're going after the b3 pawn. E captures on d4, bishop captures on b3, rook captures on a7, and bishop captures on d1. We have rook captures on d1, and if you look at this position, it's a pretty equal 3 pawns on the king side each, two pairs of rooks, and a passed pawn on d4 for Wesley. So objectively, this is a draw, but as white is up a pawn, Wesley will be the one pushing for the win here. And if you look at Nepo's clock, he barely spent any time on this game at all. You start with 2 hours, he still has an hour and 59 minutes and 36 seconds. Wesley did burn some time, or something over a half an hour, but this is where things really get interesting. We have rook to c2. Nepo now preparing to bring the rook to b2. If you allow this, then you can no longer hope to achieve anything with your extra pawn. So pawn to g3, we have pawn to g6. Of course, you don't want to play something like rook b2 and get checkmated. You always have to be mindful of the back rank. Sorry about that. We have rook to d3, a very good defensive idea, and not just defensive and attacking. If Nepo now continues with a rook b to b2, then rook f3 defends on f2 and puts pressure on the f7 pawn, and this is now very hard to play. You will have to play pawn to f5, and then you can even give up the d4 pawn because the h7 pawn is now really weak. It's very hard to defend it. probably a win for white. So after rook d3, rook c to b2, doubling up on the b file, and now king to g2. We have rook 8 to b3 and rook to f3. If a trade happens, Wesley wants to get one tempo in with the king while trading rooks. We have rook captures on f3, king captures, and king to g7. We have pawn to g4, stopping f5 and h5, pawn to h6, and now rook to e7. We have rook to d2, putting the rook behind the passed pawn, king to e3, and rook to d1. We have rook to e4, and king to f6. Here, an interesting way to sort of force a draw is pawn to f5. It really doesn't allow for any tricky stuff. For example, rook e5, king f6, and this is now much easier to play. But king f6 by Nepo, we have pawn to h4, and now rook to a1. King to d3, and here rook to a2. It's a very complicated position. You can see that Nepo still has an hour and 52 minutes on the clock, but for his next move he actually spent some time. Now the way to play this, and pretty much regardless of how you play it, you will still lose most likely. Probably why Nepo this is the first position where he actually spent some time. But even if you play the best move recommended by the engine, pawn to h5, let's say we trade here, rook e5, you go after the pawn, rook d1 check, king to c4, and now rook c1 check, king to d5, and rook to f1 going after the pawn, rook captures on h5, rook captures on f2. You get this position where I've checked with the table bases, as it's seven pieces on the board, so you can use table bases. It is a win for white, but you will still have to play it for a very long time to actually win this. Point being that at some point you will advance the pawn to h7. The black king will be on g7 guarding the queening square, but also defending the f7 pawn. The white king will be up the board, or maybe the rook will be attacking the pawn. Then you will promote the pawn to a queen. The king will have to capture. You will win the f7 pawn, and then you will move the king and advance the passed d pawn to victory while the king is locked out of the game. You will play something like rook e5 and control the e file, and the black king will not be able to help out with against the advancement of the d pawn. So something like that. Yeah, if you wanted a chance, this is how you would try it. But Nepo played rook to a2. It did him wonders in the previous game that we've shown, but in this game, not so much. Now Wesley plays the pawn is hanging, so Wesley just plays pawn to f3, rook a3 check, and yeah, the first move where Nepo spent time, he spent some 8 minutes, and he was already in a losing position. So king to c4, and rook captures on f3. Pawn to d5. This is the key move. Now the king is cut off from the d file, and the pawn can just march forward. We have rook to a3, rook to e8. We have rook to a1, and pawn to d6. Rook to d1, putting the rook behind the passed pawn, king to c5. We have pawn to h5, g5 with check, king f5, and rook to e2. We have king to f4, king to c6. King to f3 going after the rook, rook to c2, and now rook to d4 going after the h4 pawn, but it doesn't matter. Pawn to d7, we have king to g3 and the rook to c5, and it was in this position on move 50 that Jan Nepomniachtchi resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. With an hour and 36 minutes on the clock, really awesome stuff. But yeah, Wesley too strong in this one, and you can see how I always like to say, you know, even in low-level chess or in casual chess or in friendly chess or in bars, sometimes you will have a position where it's, you know, 3 pawns each on the king side and one player has a passed pawn, but everyone knows it's a draw. Yes, it's a draw if you can play really awesome chess, but you know, even in top grandmasters chess, it is possible to lose such positions as we've seen here. So, like I said, before going into this match, into this game, Wesley had a 6-1 against Nepo in Classical. Now it's 7-1 against Nepo in Classical. I don't think anyone. I could check, but I seriously doubt anyone has a better score against Nepo in Classical. So yeah, here you resign because well, there's no defense against rook d5, whatever, like king captures on h4, rook d5, you block off the rook and you promote the pawn on the next move. Like you can give one check, doesn't matter. It's queen is coming into the game on the next move, and after that, of course, everyone can easily win. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Here are the standings after 4 rounds have been played in the Sinquefield Cup. So Wesley So now in the lead with Alireza Firuja, followed by Gukesh, MVL, Dingliren, Fabiano Caruana, Yanni Pomnici, and Pragnananda with 2 points, and Anish Giri and Nodrik Abdusattorov still without a win at 1.5 points. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nicely done by Wesley. You know, you give him a pawn and he will push it. It doesn't matter who you are. And Nepo felt it once again. I would like to thank Michael Bowers, Carmen Polifronio, Robert Stadelman, GuernseyChessFestival.org.gg, and MyChessSets.com for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. And yeah, not a lot of I've checked out the sorry, I just wanted to mention I've checked out the live ratings. Not a lot of action in the live ratings. Only Vincent Keimer and Hans Niemann with the big rating point wins, over 20 points for both of them. But Wesley again in the top 10. He's currently at world number 9 at 27.56. So there's that as well. See you soon.